right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Attract Your Soul Husband Masterclass. I'm Shilpa, your love coach, and I know a lot of you know me from Instagram or have connected with me or my current clients. And I'm so grateful to share this space with you, to be here with you, to share the thing that I'm so passionate about. And I just want you to know and recognize that if I can do this, literally, if I can do this, everyone can have this. We are all possible of having this. And to pull ourselves out of things like heartbreak, divorce, and pick ourselves back, heal ourselves, and then be able to find love and have a healthy relationship and to maintain that. It's possible for all of us. Are you guys excited today? Because I am. If you guys want to, I would love to know. I know I spoke with Hima a little bit, but if you're able to kind of tell us where you're from and what brought you here today, that would be amazing. Netherlands. Want to get tools in being more open, letting guard down. I love that. Welcome. That's my girl, Christine. We actually work one-on-one. She's an amazing human being, has done so much work in the last couple of months, and she's incredible. And she's from New York, going through divorce. I know, I love you. And I want to be the most empowered version of myself. I love that so much. You guys are all so brave for showing up for yourselves. Many of you have come with the fear of, okay, I don't know if this is actually possible for me, and I'm so scared of relationships, or I've had really traumatizing experiences before, that you might even be saying things like, yeah, relationships aren't for me, or men are scary, or men suck, or whatever it is. But you showed up today, and you signed up for this course today because there is a part of you, despite feeling afraid, that you're meant to find love, and you're willing to put into the work to do it. And if you've failed at relationships before, like I'm guessing most of us have, that's probably why you're here in the first place. Just like I have, I'm sure that you've been having the doubts around finding love, and having the doubts, or maybe you're even soaking up all this like knowledge and like tips from everywhere. Like, what's the steps to actually potentially be ready to find love again? And you're trying to put the pieces together, make sense of it for yourself, but you're still like, it doesn't necessarily click yet for me. So that's why you're here. And that's why it's okay if it does feel confusing, if it does feel overwhelming. That's a part of the process, because there was a point in time when that is exactly what I felt too, overwhelmed and so just frightened by the whole thought of dating and getting back into a relationship and the heaviness of it. It's kind of a part of the process, but that's why I went into the work that I do now to help people navigate that, to guide them through it, to make it easier, to allow them to take in the information, and for it to click in their minds, and to make adjustments in their lives accordingly. I know there's a lot of information out there from different coaches, from different just people out there who are creating content around love and relationships. And one of the things that I've created a framework from what I've realized about my own experiences and in my own journey within divorce and love, and creating a family and maintaining that relationship, and actually getting to a place of where we don't actually fight necessarily anymore. We have conflict, but we navigate it in a very different way than I'm used to, fighting or having conflict. And for us to actually be in this kind of relationship where we're both growing and learning from each other and having fun at the same time while doing it. So if you failed before, it is possible for you to get there. I was terrible at relationships prior to where I am now. When it comes to, like I said, when it comes to relationships and being afraid and feeling like you can't do this, that is 100% normal. And I can guarantee that probably every person in this room, or every person who's going to be watching this, has felt that at some point in their lives. Like, I'm the only one experiencing this. I'm the only one doing this right now, or going through this right now. I don't know if it's possible for me. And I think that right there is the belief right there is what stops a lot of people from actually pursuing and actually trying to unlearn a lot of the things that we learned about relationships and behaviors in the past, and the behaviors and wiring that you have already in your brain that you need to be able to move forward and change, so you can actually have the healthy relationship, so you can show up differently, so you can have the courage and do love the right way. I know, like, it's really hard, especially after you've opened yourself up, you've trusted someone, you thought this person was the one, and or even if you necessarily didn't know what the one felt like, but you got into a marriage thinking it was gonna be forever, you got into a relationship that was gonna lead to marriage, and then the rug was pulled out from underneath you, and you're like, "What do I do? What is" it's kinda shakes your whole, um belief and thought process and thoughts around marriage and love and relationships, and you could be feeling so confused by it all, and to know that that is a part of the process and that is normal, because everything that you once thought was marriage and relationships and love completely shattered, and that's almost like the best part. I tell a lot of my clients now, you're the who have gone through divorces or heartbreaks, you're the perfect person to go out and find love again, because you've known what happens and why love goes wrong, why relationships go wrong. So you've had this image of love that you've had it completely shattered. So you have to pick up the pieces and put it together in a way that it makes sense for you. So that's like the best place to be, because you're curious. You're like, okay, this didn't work the first time. What do I have to do differently the next time so I don't repeat what I just did and I don't end up in a similar situation? And if you've gone through a divorce, or if you're going through a divorce, you know how traumatic that can be. And I, for one, never want to experience that again. But you have a vision for yourself. Like, you want something. Like, you might be telling your friends and family, making jokes about, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be single forever," or like, "Marriage is not for me," or "Men suck," or whatever it is. But then when you're alone at night, you're thinking about this person that you hope to have in your life, and you want to be a part of your life, to create a vision and a life together, and a family, one of joy, one that it doesn't feel exhausting and depleting to be with this person, that you're actually creating dreams together, that you're supporting each other, that you're loving each other. And, one of the biggest things that I noticed in a lot of the relationships gone wrong is just even if you're in this marriage, in this relationship, you were still really lonely in that. And a lot of the women who come out of that are like realizing that I thought that was love, but I was actually really disconnected. I was really lonely. I was hiding parts of myself. I was having to play smaller. I was having to be quiet about certain things. I was having to give away parts of myself. And then to the point where you get out of the relationship and you're like, who am I? I can't even recognize myself anymore, because I've just given away pieces of myself throughout the whole process. I've seen a lot of people out there who do teach other people to get into healthy relationships, and not saying that you can't do something even if you don't have it yourself, but I do find it very difficult to teach someone how to do something when you don't know how to do yourself, or like you haven't obtained it yourself. So that's one of the reasons why I really stepped into coaching as well, because I'm like, okay, I've figured this out for myself. I want to share this with other people. I've gone from a place of like terrible marriage, screwing up so badly, like doing some terrible things that I never thought I would ever do, to be able to come into a relationship, be loyal, honest, have my spouse be the same way, and be able to create a space for him where I don't have my armor up all the time. And I'm not trying to always defend myself. I actually have created a sense of safety within myself, but also, my partner and I have been able to create safety within each other, that we don't have to always feel like we have to be on the defense, which is um, something rare compared to a lot of relationships, including all of my other past relationships. So playing the mind games and, giving someone the silent treatment, the cold shoulder, things like that. Those were all things that I did. Cheating, all of that, lying, hiding. Uh, I never felt like I could quite be my 100% myself. And I had to, like I said, give parts of myself away to be able to function in this relationship. And it should honestly, it should never feel like that. So I know you guys came here because you also have a dream of, finding your soul husband. And what I like to call my soul husband, why I talk about that is because I'm not here, like, marriage to me is like, it's something I'm really passionate about. And it's just so crazy for me to even say that, because even when I got married the first time, I was like, I hate marriage. This freaking sucks. Who wants to do this? It felt like, um, almost like you're in shackles in like, when it goes back to the idea, like, you having to give parts of yourself up, or like having to compromise to the point that you feel like you're not being true to yourself, that you have to almost ask permission to be who you are, to say what you want, to voice your needs. And when you don't have the skills to do that, it 100% feels like that as well when you're with the wrong person. And, in my relationship now, it's the complete opposite, where we can be 100% ourselves. So when I share something, or when I say I have a dream about this, it's not met with judgment. It's actually met with openness, and vice versa. So, he's like, okay, you have this dream. How do I help you achieve this? How do we do this together? We're able to share our traumas with each other. Like, that's something that's so important, that you're able to do with your partner, that you can hear his childhood trauma, you ask about those questions, and then he does it back to you. So you have an understanding of where your inner child comes from and why you act out in the way that you do. So then that's how your partner is able to take that information and know how to also help regulate you. So I know other people and coaches and all of that might say, hey, you need to learn how to regulate yourself, and you don't and be good on your own, or be healed on your own prior to getting into a relationship. But I'm here to tell you now, yes, there is a certain amount of healing and regulating that you need to be able to do in your own 100%. But when you're in relationship with someone else, they also help to co-regulate you. So if you have kids yourself, or if you've been around kids, you'll be able to see that actually play out, that your energy will help to calm your child, or calm this child. So even your own reaction or response to something will elicit a reaction from her, or a behavior from I'm saying her because I have a daughter, but from your child, or from this child, right? So, like, if you scream and yell, this child is going to get scared and cry, or like scream, or whatever it is. Whereas if you're able to stay calm and regulate yourself, and you pick up this child and you're calm, the child eventually calms down, um, herself. So it has a lot to do with being able to, like, recognize that, okay, there's work I need to do on my own, but there's also a lot of work you'll be doing with your partner. But when I work with clients, I help to teach them these skills, so when they do get into a relationship, that they know how to go about this. And then, not just that, are you healing and growing together? You notice yourself being a better version of yourself. Like, you guys are just best friends. You're able to share parts of yourself. You're able to have fun together. You're able to support each other's dreams. It doesn't feel like you're giving up parts of yourself to be together. It actually, if anything, when you are in conflict brings you closer together rather than pulls you apart. And you learn so much about each other through that. So you're not necessarily always trying to dodge it or avoid it, because you think it's going to be this crazy blowout fight, or where you brush it under the rug. So you actually face it head on, and you're not afraid of it. And that's what I'm going to show you today. We're going to talk about that today, about how to attract your soul husband. So a lot of it has to do with the need for you to stop sabotaging yourself so you can attract your soul husband and be happy in a relationship. So that's like the key thing here, is that a lot of women will come into coaching and all of that. Even like myself, if I look at my own past history, the reason why I ended up in a lot of the situations I did is because I was sabotaging myself. So I would play the mind games. I wouldn't know how to communicate clearly and assertively. I didn't have boundaries. I also didn't have consequences for those boundaries. So, no men I was engaging with, like, they didn't take me seriously. It's also because I wasn't showing myself respect. So why should they show me respect if I wasn't respecting myself? So things really changed, when Isaac and I got together, and I was able to put down put down boundaries and be assertive in a way that I had never been before. And that's what helped to set the tone for our relationship. And for him to also, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, by me stepping into the feminine, also being assertive in the relationship, it helped him to step into his masculine and take on more responsibility as a man. Yes, and like we talked about, you've been hurt in the past. You have a lot of the weight of the trauma, a lot of the memories of your past, or whatever the situations that have happened in your marriages or relationships, where it's really hard for you to let go of those, and that causes a lot of fear in you. And then because of that fear, you have your walls up. You've created a barrier to protect yourself from the bad, from the harmful, which the protecting yourself from the bad and harmful is great, but the thing is, you also block out the good. So you don't even allow yourself to experience love, because you have the walls up to protect yourself from pain. So to be aware of that is the first step into, really realizing, okay, what's the action that I need to take to move forward? How do I get out of my own way? And that's literally that right there is the biggest block for most women, is that they're blocking themselves from actually receiving the love that they desire. So, like I mentioned, you don't know how to communicate your needs, and there's literally an art to this, which I got wrong for, actually, even into my marriage. I was getting it wrong. Yes, like I said, like, I was learning how to be assertive and speak freely, but the thing is, there's also a tone that you use, and a way to actually bring that and bring that into conversation, express that with someone, that there is an art to navigating this. So when you do share something, or when you want to voice a boundary, if you want to voice a concern, or if you want to bring up something that could potentially cause conflict, that you're doing it in a way where it doesn't turn out into a blowout fight, where you're screaming at each other or people's walls are going up, but you do it in a way that your partner can actually receive it and hear it and not feel like he needs to put his walls up. Which, I'm not putting all of this on us, but you learning these skills will also help your partner that's like where the co-regulation also comes in. It also helped to calm him so he can actually receive it. But if he's not more of an evolved person, or has been doing at least some of this work, or have awareness of himself, then he's going to struggle with this. But that's why moving forward, we avoid those kind of events. And you want and desire a happy relationship and healthy relationship, especially if you've never had experience that. You might be like, okay, what does that even look like? And like I mentioned, the things that we're talking about here is healthy communication, and being able to get through conflict, and that you actually make it a priority to talk things out when it comes down to conflict, that you don't brush it under the rug, pretend that it's not there, let it pile up, and then you're bringing up things that happened a year ago, 2 years ago. That's one of the big things I will always recommend. And 100%, you should never keep a scorecard. So what I mean by that is, if you're bringing up things that happened 2 or 3 years ago, yeah, that's a problem. Even a month ago, that's a problem. So as things come up, and that was one of the things that I realized in my past marriage that I was doing, because I had not tackled things as they were happening. So because I was too afraid to bring it up, or I was like, oh, this is not worth the conflict right now. This is not worth the energy. I'm going to just pretend like it's not happening. But I'm telling you now, that energy just does not go away. It builds up within you. You hold that in your body. So when things do pile up, then one day you blow up and you have no idea why you're pissed, or that you're having this extreme of a reaction, right? So it is important to tackle issues as they happen. And I'm not saying make everything a big issue. There are some things that you learn. Okay, is this worth having the conversation? Is it actually that big of a deal to me? Or am I like, you're checking in with yourself, right? So being able to navigate that too will help you to move forward and have a healthy relationship and healthy conflict. And the thing is, like, a lot of my clients I work with are high achieving, badass women, super successful. They know how to kill it in their careers. Like, they're just so smart, so intelligent, and I'm always in awe of them. And then when it comes down to, and then, they might even come to me like, no, no, like, I know I'm worthy. I know I'm deserving of this. But then there's that fear that holds them back from not doing this, and they might say things like men suck, or this is too hard, or dating sucks, there aren't that many opportunities, or there aren't that many options, dating apps suck, whatever it is. But what that's telling me is that if we really break that thought process down, if we really break it down and get real with ourselves, that you're actually telling me at the end of the day, you're afraid that you might not be worthy of the love that you desire, or the partner that you're dreaming of. Because if you thought you were, if you believed you were, if you knew it was out there for you, then you'd be like, yeah, I'm all in. I'm going to give this my best shot, and I'm not going to let these excuses or these roadblocks get in the way of that, just like you did in your career, right? I'm sure there were times when there are things in your that came in your way. There were obstacles or made it hard, or like, oh God, this sucks. But I'm sure you figured out a way of like climbing over that and getting to the other side. And that's exactly what happens in love and dating. Like, you need to be able to figure that out. But if you feel you are worthy, you will put in that energy. So here is my framework: Attract Your Soul Husband formula. So I've been touching on all of this. And I was actually married at 25. And it was funny because I looked up to my sister at that time, and she got married at 24, had 2 kids by 28. She was done. Like, I just like, oh my God, like, she's on the right timeline. Like, how do I get on that timeline? And that was the timeline that everyone was freaking on at that time too, which is so crazy because I'm like, in your 20s, we are all babies. You need to go out and explore your life, because I am like, that's exactly what I'm going to tell my daughter. But I should have been actually exploring, but honestly, this was the route and path I was meant to take, because here I am today, being able to serve women in a way that I am just so grateful to be able to. I grew up, being a people pleaser, really struggling to define myself and who I was, because I was always giving away parts of myself to everyone along the way. Who do you want me to be? I'll be that. Who do you want me to be? Okay, I'll be that. I was the social chameleon who can fit into different scenarios and situations and with different people. Okay, that's your opinion? Oh yeah, like, I kind of agree to that too. Yeah, like, I get that. So it's really funny to like look back at myself and just see how I used to be in those kind of situations, because it was a lifetime, what, like 30 years of that, where the last 5, 6 years I've been working on healing all of those parts of myself. But then I hit, I struggled with depression and anxiety most of my life. And I was in this marriage, ended up cheating, fell in love with someone else. And I'm like, oh my God, I can have a life outside of, not life, I can have someone who actually sees me and loves me and respects me for like all of my messy parts, the parts that I couldn't show to my husband at that time. Or I felt like I couldn't show to him. And the funny part is, like, looking back, that was an extremely, extremely unhealthy relationship. So, but honestly, I'm also very grateful for it because that's what also helped me to get out of that marriage that I was in, because I needed to see that there was something different out there, that I could have something different. Divorced, moved out to LA because I was like, that's always been a dream. I want to get away from everyone I know and I want to start over. Like, this is what I wanted to do, what I should have been doing in my 20s, actually. But to start exploring myself, like who am I? Like, here I am, hit rock bottom. It was an extremely traumatizing time because I had my entire community like drop me, and I had my family not understand. It was really, really hard because they obviously, divorce is not accepted in my community. So it was um I was like the black sheep, embarrassment, all that fun stuff. I'm sure some of you can relate to that too. But anyway, ended up moving out to LA, and then less than a year later, I ended up meeting Isaac. But before that, I was a hot mess and like dating all these kinds of random men and like getting stuck into situationships, men who are using me. So I was definitely angry and frustrated and on this like roller coaster highs and lows, and yeah, it was insane. But Isaac and I met, and then within 10 months, we were married. And now we have a family, which is so crazy. But yeah, like I said, I help other women heal from heartbreak and open themselves up to love. So able to open yourself up to receiving love, because as children, when we all experience trauma, even if it's not necessarily physical or sexual abuse or whatever it is, but we all experience trauma in some form growing up in our childhood, even with other partners and through our teenage years and school, bullying, all those kinds of things. And that affects us as adults. And um we end up almost like stacking bricks on bricks to create those walls so we don't feel that pain again, because it was so hard for us to navigate as children, or navigate when we were younger, that as adults we carry all of that with us. It just doesn't go away. So I help women to pretty much I usually so like to take the bricks down slowly so we can open ourselves up. But what I say about what my husband did was like literally take a wrecking ball and like break down my walls. But because I was forced to, I had to, if I wanted to be in the kind of relationship that we wanted to create. Like I said, I wasn't always winning at love. Um, so clearly I went through that divorce, then I started dating. When I first got out of my relationship and was in LA, I was like, okay, I just want flings. I just like want to have fun. I don't want to deal with relationships or anything. And then like did a little bit of that. And then there was like another situationship that I got into. It was super messy. And it's like almost I learned a lot through that about myself and about men in general, but I was also realizing like I'm not really fulfilled in this. Like I'm just wasting time, or like killing time, right? Like I'm allowing time to pass and spending time and energy with all these people, with all these men that were not like were sucking my energy out of me, right? Rather than feeding myself and pouring into myself. Yeah, so like even right before I met Isaac, I was in a really unhealthy situationship, and I was like hooked on this highs and lows roller coaster. One day he'd be like, I'm in love with you and I can see you being the mother of my kids. And the next day he was not talking to me and would bail on plans that we had. So, and then I would, oh my God, like thinking about those days, that I would just be in bed sobbing. I was like crashing so hard. And I was so unfair to myself. I was so unfair. It's so crazy. I put up with a lot of crap, and then one night I was like, I am done with him. And this time felt different. Like this time I really meant it, because I had said that a few times, and I'm sure a lot of us do that. And yeah, this time felt really different. And that night my roommate and I went out to this these concerts. I went to a bar, and there walks in Isaac into my life. And at that time, neither of us were looking for anything serious. But what is it? That was like 5 years ago. So yeah. So my vision, my driving vision, and I want you guys to get clear on what it is that you want for yourselves too, because I knew, even though I was doing all this other crappy shit with all these other men, having flings and like being stuck in situationships where I was being disrespected and, not really taken care of, that I still had this vision for myself. Like, even despite all this in the background, when I was by myself, I was writing in my journal about who do I want for my ideal partner? Like, what do I want marriage to look like? What do I want my dream relationship to look like? Um, and that is literally what kept pushing me forward. Like, no matter what was going wrong here, I knew I had a bigger vision for myself. And I know that all of you do too, even if you can't vocalize it at the moment, that you have something bigger that's why you're here. And I would love for you to take 2 minutes just to write something down for yourself, where it's like, what do you envision for your dream partner and your dream relationship? And like, what does that look like? How are you feeling in that? Because I want you to hold on to that vision. That is what's going to lead you forward and keep pushing you forward when it feels tough. So I just want you to take 2 minutes to do that for yourself. You don't have to share it, but you just write it down somewhere so you have that for yourself. After going through a divorce, and after the relationship fell apart, one of the things I've realized is I would say my marriage was a priority. I would say that it is the number one thing besides God that was important to me, but I never actually acted like it. I literally gave my first marriage breadcrumbs because I was too focused on work and all of that. Like, I put more energy into my business, into my work, and would come home exhausted and never put anything into my relationship and into my marriage. And even when clients come to me now and are saying, who have been single for years, like maybe they got divorced or broke up, or like um haven't had the best luck in dating, they come to me and they're like, I'm ready to get serious. I'm ready to be intentional about this because whatever I was doing in the past didn't work. I'm sick and tired of just like waiting for it to magically happen, because that doesn't work either. So for you to get really intentional about what your vision is and like how I'm going to move forward to get that. So it's not just having it in the background, but actually really being like, this is important to me, and I'm going to change my behavior and what I say according to that too. I'm intentional about this, and it's okay. It is 100% okay for you to say that you want a partner. Because I remember being single at a time, I would read things or like see things on social media like, oh, you need to be good on your own. And yes, you do. You do need to know how to be comfortable with yourself and to feel safe within yourself and to like yourself and to enjoy being with yourself. 100%. But it is okay. I'm here to tell you, it is okay for you to desire a partner and to desire partnership, as long as you're not relying on them to create this like fun life for you. You need to know how to create that on your own. And then when you come together, you guys are going to create this like badass fun life together, because it's two amazing people coming together, two fulfilled whole humans coming together to make this like beautiful, magical companionship. And it's just next level when you both come at it like that. and that you do make it a priority, that you do make your relationship and marriage a priority, that because that literally is the foundation for your life. And it's sad that a lot of people don't act that way, including myself in the past. Whereas now I have completely changed that. And yes, I love my work. I love my work so much. And my husband loves his work. And we have all these other priorities like family and our daughter and all of that. But at the end of the day, we've realized my daughter is going to grow up and move out one day. And at the end of the day, it's just the two of us. And if this right here, if our relationship is not going well, which is the foundation of my life, then everything else is going to be shit. So that is why I like preach, if you can get the help, invest in it, get the help. Just because I have met women, someone just commented, I think on my live or yesterday that I was on, was like, "Hey, I'm on my," or she commented on my reel, sorry. "I got married a second time and the same thing happened. I'm heartbroken." So like meaning she got divorced again or it's ending. And so for me, it's like I'm also very much a hungry different person. So like if I make a mistake, and that's also the good part about being a perfectionist is like if I make a mistake and I made many mistakes and huge mistakes and I fell face down after my divorce and everyone knew about it, right? So I'm like, I never want to be here again. How do I get it right the second time so I never have to be here again? And I hope that you take that with you and you run with that idea. Is like you deserve to have better and you can do better. How do you go move forward and get it right the next time, or at least do it better at the next time, so you don't have to be that you learn from what happened the first time around and you make your marriage a priority, you make your relationship a priority, because it's literally the foundation of your life. As you all know, if you choose the right person, if you choose the wrong person, everything else is shit. Everything else struggles. Your friendships, your work, your relationships with others, like everything else struggles. Your mental health, all of it. Like you guys, especially if you've been in a relationship, you absolutely know that. The first is radical honesty and ownership. So I want to go through this really quickly. So radical honesty and ownership. This is what I've been talking about pretty much the entire time, of getting really, really honest with yourself and being able to take accountability. So when it comes to relationships, especially when you're just getting out of a breakup, when you're just getting out of a divorce, or even trying to navigate yourself out of it. So say you chose to leave, right? If I reflect back on my own situation, the easiest thing for me to do at that time was to figure out what was wrong with him. What was he doing wrong? And that's my reason or excuse to leave. Because before that, I struggled. I remember telling my parents, I'm just not happy. I don't know how to put it into words besides that. And they would literally come to me and say, "What is happiness? What does that even mean? People aren't meant to be happy all the time." And I'm like, okay, I mean, they're not wrong, but I can't explain it to any other way at this moment. It's just I'm not happy. So then I'm like, okay, how do I make a list of all the things that he's done wrong to me, right? How do I get that together so I have proof for, yes, I'm not crazy. This is legitimate. Like he's been a shitty partner. And here's a list. So when you think of it that way, when you're coming out of that, it's so much easier to blame it on someone else rather than take ownership. But what's going to help you to move forward and to be successful in relationships is for you to be radically freaking honest with yourself and honest with others, honestly, too, and to take ownership and accountability. So what I mean by that, especially if you've been in an abusive relationship, I'm not saying that you are at fault for the abuse. Never would I say that. But what I'm telling you here when it comes to radical honesty and ownership is, why were you with that person in the first place? Why did you ignore the signs of abuse? What made you stay? Like getting really honest about all of those parts of yourself. So when you moving forward, because this does happen. If you're getting out of an abusive relationship, you'll probably meet a couple of more potential partners that are very similar to that person, because the universe is trying to say, okay, you say you want something different, you say you're going to be different, show me. Are you going to practice what you preach and what you say to yourself, right? So you might not initially be able to recognize it, but then you will, as you are growing that awareness and building that awareness in yourself, you'll be like, this is that red flag that I ignored the last time, and this is how I navigate it this time. And so if you take ownership in your relationships, you'll realize that you play a part in creating the relationship that you're in, and the circumstances that you're in, and the situations that you're in. So when you take ownership, what else do you realize about this situation? That moving forward, you have a lot more power than you think you do. So initially, when you're coming from the victim mindset, like, oh, he's a shitty partner, he was abusive, he was horrible, and oh my God, like now I'm paying for it. My life is hard, my life sucks, I'm left with all this trauma. But when you come from that mindset, you're powerless. You're literally telling me you cannot do anything to improve your life, that you are a victim to your circumstances. But when you come from that mindset of, let me get honest, let me take ownership, that's the first step. So you can start to be like, oh, so if I act this way next time, then I'll probably get this reaction or response from a potential partner. If I let this red flag go and not say anything, then I might potentially end up in a situation similar to what I experienced before. If I don't communicate this right now, then I'm going to wake up one day and be like, I hate my partner and I don't know why. So that's what I mean by radical honesty and ownership. So being assertive and authentic. Okay. So this is the part of the journey where what I like to call self-exploration. So when that's the authentic part, right? So really getting to know yourself. I mentioned how you lose yourself throughout unhealthy marriages and relationships because you have to give up so much of yourself to be in it, to survive it. You have to give up so much of yourself. So you lose parts of who you are. You also start to ignore your own intuition, which does a disservice to you. And moving forward, you're constantly questioning, am I right? Is this right for me? Am I wrong? What's going on here? I don't know. Is this even true? Like you're constantly questioning yourself. You're doubting yourself because you've ignored your intuition for so long that you've forgotten what is true for you. So I want you to use this phase of self-exploration to do the things that you never thought you'd do, that you find exciting and interesting, and you're like, oh, that seems really cool, but I don't know if I could do it. That's a little bit too much for me. No, that's probably the thing that you need to try, because even if, first of all, it comes out like the idea of courage, but also you're going to learn so much more about yourself when you push outside your comfort zone and try the things that you've kind of been interested in, always been interested in, but too afraid to do. And just like be open to newness, like trying new things, because you will learn so much about yourself through that, about who you aren't and what you don't like, and who you are and what you do like. It's so crazy. When I was that time in LA, was like my self-exploration, like big time phase, especially by myself, right? Because I had never had that time on my own outside of my family and all that to do that. So for me to have that was really, I kind of went wild with it at first, but it was great. I had to do all of those things because I was like, maybe I'm this kind of person. Maybe I'm polyamorous. Maybe I don't believe in marriage. Maybe I don't this. And like, so I like, explored everything and went to different workout classes and went to different spiritual experiences. I traveled alone a ton during that time. I can't even remember. Like I must have taken 5 or 6 or 7 like solo trips during that time. It was so crazy. And I'm actually still in an exploration phase. I'm still like, who is this show? I'm always getting to know myself, and it's actually really fun. Like to put yourself in different situations and scenarios and be like, oh wow, I like this, or I don't like this, or you're constantly getting to know yourself. And also keeps your like my relationship fun with my husband. Like we have fun things to talk about because we're always doing that for ourselves. So even as you're single and you're working on this, it's a great thing to continue to do even when you're married. I don't mean like hooking up with people or anything like that. I just mean activity wise, right? But in this um, be assertive and authentic phase, you can date around and do whatever it is, and like actually date around with even date people that you wouldn't think you would like, just to. And I don't mean like multiple dates or whatever. I mean give people a chance and just be open, because if what if you do end up liking specific qualities about this person that you thought you wouldn't. So just it's almost like having this curiosity for yourself and just allowing yourself to be open and explore, kind of like kids do. I bring up my daughter a lot now because I'm seeing so much of how she's developing, and I'm like, oh wow, like this is kind of how we need to be when we're healing from heartbreak, or this is how we function when we are healing from heartbreak. So and rebuilding ourselves and redefining love. So, and then, okay, so through that exploration phase, through discovering yourself, then you learn how to be assertive. So basically, what I mean by that is that you figure out what are your values? What's important to you? What's your vision for your future? Who do you want to be? Who are you? What are some of your goals that you want to work towards? So when you get clear on that, what are your non-negotiables for relationships? So when you get clear on that, you are able to vocalize it and verbalize it to someone else. And what I mean by be assertive is that you are open about that. You are honest about that, because you don't want a man to come into your life and here he is, like he knows who he is, he knows what he wants. I mean, he might just be pretending too, right? Like that's also a survival mechanism for men, but like he's super confident, and he comes in and tells you who you are, what you like, what you want to do. And now all of a sudden you're sucked into his life and you've lost your identity again. So if you don't have a good sense of self, and if you don't know how to vocalize that, then you're going to get lost in a relationship again. So it's really important for you to get clear on who you are. And this person, like, get clear. When I say get clear on who you are, there's a general idea of who you are, meaning like your core values, what's really important to you. So for example, some of mine that I had to block out in my first marriage or feel guilty for growing up being Indian, and was freedom. I value freedom so much, whether that's financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of location. Like I love to travel. I love to have that, right? I don't like to work for anyone else. Like I value freedom and independence, freedom of expression. I value that too, right? So I knew that about myself because it was something that really upset me and caused a lot of conflict in my first marriage. So I want to also think about that when you're thinking about who are you? What caused a lot of conflict in your first marriage? Why did you feel taken advantage of or used or unhappy or resentful? That's going to give you a clear indication of the parts of what you value too, right? And then things like travel, when Isaac and I started dating, I vocalized that. I was pretty clear about that. I was like, hey, I value freedom. I value travel. Like these are things I need to have in my life. And if you're not on board with this, that's okay. But either we're going to figure this out somehow where we can have a happy medium, or we're just not aligned at all if this lifestyle freaks the hell out of you. So like basically with my ex, he's more conservative. He and he finds safety and stability, and which is great. Like, not everyone is going to be as kooky and crazy as me when it comes down to lifestyle, which is totally fine. But then I know we're not a good match for each other. So that's why it's good for you to know that about yourselves too. So when you do go on dates, when you do start dating, that you're like, okay, this person is clearly not right for me. We value completely different things. We have completely different lifestyles. We have completely different visions for our future. Let's not waste each other's time. Right? Even though this person can be a great human being, you don't want to lose yourself in a relationship. And being able to vocalize that, have boundaries. So having I talked about this the other day on a live yesterday. Like, for example, when I started to actually show up for myself, be assertive. And when I mean be assertive and having boundaries, I don't mean you're yelling at someone. I don't mean you're using it to manipulate someone. I don't mean it that you're using it to punish someone. You're literally using boundaries to protect yourself and protect others. So also, when you have boundaries, you'll understand that they're just coming from a place of protecting themselves and protecting their energy, and you'll honor that in others too. If you don't have boundaries for yourself, you're going to struggle to respect boundaries of others or even understand them. So, like I said, I was continuing the story with Isaac. When we were just talking, we were talking for like a month nonstop, and we weren't officially dating. He ended up hooking up with someone else, and I said, "Hey, I took a few minutes to like figure out my thoughts, gather my thoughts. I'm like, hey, I need some time to myself to figure this out. I'm having a strong emotional reaction. Like, I think I was starting to cry, and I was like, I don't know why, and I need to figure this out before I react out of fear or anger or whatever it is." He's like, okay, I understand. Took some time to like talk to a friend, to journal, to like write out this whole thing. Like, what exactly am I feeling? What am I afraid of here? What is happening for me? And then a couple hours later, talked to him on the phone, and had this conversation, and shared exactly what I wrote down, exactly what I was feeling. And he's like, okay, wow. And I said, after all of this, I've realized I love you and I care about you a lot, and I clearly want something long term with a path towards marriage. If that's not what you're wanting for yourself, I respect that. I understand that. He's also 8 years younger than me, so I didn't want to, I had a fear that I was stealing his youth from him. So I told him, I was like, hey, if this is not what you want for yourself, that's fine. But if it is, then we gotta change things here. We're not just gonna be friends. And if you don't want this, then we're gonna have to stop talking. And I had to be very serious about that. I said, because we aren't friends. We clearly are more than that, and we're just pretending. So if we're not going to move in that direction, I have feelings for you. I can't be your friend anymore or a friend anymore. So we're gonna have to go our separate ways. And I said this in a very calm voice. And it was not, and I checked in with myself too before I had this conversation. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to say anything to manipulate him or with the intention of manipulation or control. And that's really important too when you're communicating with someone, that you check in with your intention behind it. What am I trying to get them to do something, or am I just genuinely like, hey, out of love for myself and out of protection for myself, here are my feelings, here's what I want. If you can't meet me there, then here's what's going to happen. Here's the consequence of that. And this goes into the next part of it, step into your feminine, that we as women, like when we step into that energy of like, hey, we know ourselves, I'm open to love, this scares the shit out of me. Like, dating someone long distance, Isaac was in South Korea, I was in LA. That scared the hell out of me. And also what scared me the most was, oh crap, here I am potentially going to get serious with someone and talking about marriage with someone when I'm really scared because I failed the first time around really badly. Can I actually do this? But being able to step into that with courage and be assertive and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for for myself and for my future. Are you ready for that? If you're not, here's the door, and like that's okay. I'm sending you off with love. Goodbye. Take care of yourself. And genuinely saying it from a place of just caring about yourself, you'd be shocked how many men, first of all, they'll realize that you respect yourself, so they have to respect you, and the ones that won't will walk away from your life. And that if you but you have to stick to your consequences, and you have to stick to your boundaries. So if they're not following through on the way that you're asking for them to, and you don't cut them off or you don't follow through on your boundary, then they're gonna know that you don't require respect, right? So so stepping into your feminine also is talking about this, the way we women have a lot of power in relationships. So the way we come into a relationship, the way we show up in our relationship helps men to show up in a certain way too. So when it comes down to, this is the thing that scares all of my women, all of my clients the most, and I understand. Like it scared me the most too when I was there. Vulnerability. So being able to allow someone in to the deepest parts of you, to the parts that you don't show anyone, like anyone, to allow someone in like that is freaking frightening, because you might have attempted it before. And even if you think back to your childhood trauma, like you wanted that with your parents, like my child wants that with me. And say you were denied, say you were abandoned, say you were rejected, and maybe not even purposefully, right? Like it's just your parents were busy, your partner was busy, whatever it was. You've internalized that. So now you have a big fear around being vulnerable, sharing parts of yourself. It feels scary. But that's exactly what you need to step into when you're creating a relationship, when you're stepping into the feminine, because you being able to show up as vulnerable allows your partner to. You being able to show up as nurturing allows your partner to do the same for you. So you being really loving and open and coming to conflict without an agenda, or like if you have an agenda, that you are clear and you know but you're also verbalizing and vocalizing your needs in a certain way, and you're able to nurture this man and create a safe space for him, that you're not playing mind games. If you fall into the path of playing mind games, then you will keep attracting really immature men. Those are the men who are going to stick around, because the other ones will run away and they'll think you're nuts. And I'm saying this from experience because I've done it. Or you're going to create a really unhealthy relationship and cycle pattern with each other. So really this idea of being nurturing and stepping into your feminine and being open to receiving love, to allow a man to love you, to not put your walls up every time he tries to show you that he loves you, to not doubt him, to, if you become anxious, like say you're in the dating phase, right? You started talking to someone, and all of a sudden, like you guys are talking on a daily basis, something happens, he doesn't text you in the morning. Okay. And you wake up and you're like, oh my God, he didn't text me. He didn't text me today. I think this is over. This is going to be over. So I'm just going to text him and be like, okay, I guess this is over now. I haven't heard from you. I guess this is over. Have a great life. So you don't even know what has happened yet. And I'm saying this because I've done this before too. So you don't even know what has happened yet. You haven't given him the opportunity to have the conversation. Instead of openly sharing like what you're thinking. And he just did this once, right? Like it's not a consistent thing yet. If it's consistent, that's a different story. But even then you have to vocalize clearly and have a boundary. And if you can't follow through, okay, cool, bye. But so you haven't given this opportunity yet. And then he texts you and says, hey, something just happened with a friend. I don't want to weigh you down with it. So I'll just talk to you later. So what does that tell me? You guys are newer in the dating phase, right? So that tells me he doesn't feel safe talking, first of all, to probably a lot of people at all. maybe even anyone about what's happening, but he like opened the door a little bit to see what you'll do with that, right? So, but look at what you just did. You texted him this crazy text, made it about yourself, becoming anxious, all of that. And I'm saying crazy in like the most loving way because I've done it. I'm not saying like you're crazy, but um, but yeah, so instead of creating a safe space for him, and instead of creating a space where we can open up to you, you've already shut him down and put him on the defense, where he has to be on the defense, right? Um, and a lot of secure, safe men will not necessarily play into that. They'll actually give you a couple of chances before they notice a pattern. So if you keep doing it, they're most likely going to walk away, and you're sabotaging yourself in the relationship because you deeply desire closeness and intimacy and this beautiful long-term relationship. But look at what you're doing. You're allowing your anxiety and your fears to take control of you and then create distance. So then you get further away from the thing that you say that you want the most. And that's what I mean. Like that goes straight into being courageous in love. So communicating your feelings can feel very freaking scary. Being vulnerable can feel very freaking scary because it's never been safe for you before to do that. It's never been safe for you to open yourself up. It's never been accepted fully. It's never been embraced. It's never been heard and maybe you've never heard, "Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that with me. I love you. I respect you. Let me help you with this. Let me help you through this. Let's figure out a plan together." Maybe you've never experienced that before. So you don't know how to do it, but in order, or you don't want to do it because you're like, that's not even realistic. I promise you. I didn't think it was either until I've been able to create it myself with my husband, and that he does that for me, and vice versa. So you and I always like this random thought. Just I was like, he's actually taught me how to love, and um, but it requires a level of courage to overcome and to overstep your what I like to call your default state, your automatic responses and reactions to feeling threatened. So whether it's like something like in that situation I just mentioned with the dating the guy, he didn't text you, right? You feel like that's a threat because now like, oh, he might reject me. So before he even rejects you, you're rejecting yourself. So you allow the anxiety to take over and take over your actions, right? But whereas to be courageous in that moment would have been to take a few minutes to slow down, to gather your thoughts, to gather your feelings, get clear on what it is that you feel, get it clear on what it is that you're experiencing, get clear on what it is that you're fearful of, and to bring that to him. To bring that to your partner and be like, this is what's going on for me. And I'm probably triggered by this because it reminds me of this situation from the past. And I'm telling my story. I'm telling this story in my head to myself right now. I'm scared. And I'm sorry that, and even for you to like say you reacted, you sent that text and you come back and tell him this later, right? That you apologize. Apologizing can feel really uncomfortable for a lot of people because um, you didn't hear it from your family. You didn't hear it from your loved ones. It was never safe, like people didn't apologize for the things that they've done wrong to you. So now it makes you feel as though you're powerless if you do apologize. But being courageous in love gets you to this place of just beautiful connection that a lot of us are lacking. So I want you to think about, what we talked about earlier about this um, idea of the ideal relationship. What does it look like to you? What does it feel like for you? What are you looking for? Just getting really, really clear on that. And knowing what it is that you're looking for in a partner, and to be aware, like, if you're doing this kind of work on yourself, if you're learning how to regulate yourself, if you're learning how to go out and have fun and explore and be feminine, and learning how to be courageous in general, like, that's what I asked you, text and write in the chat, because you're being courageous by showing up and writing, doing that, right? Like, most people wouldn't do that. So for you to show up and like, I want you to practice that in small situations, and then as you get more confident, that you keep practicing that in bigger situations. So when it comes down to, you know, what I'm offering as a coach is that I help people to create this for themselves, because especially if you've never had um an experience with this, an experience with what a healthy relationship looks like. I mean, I didn't. I would have struggled to really comprehend what it is that I need to do to create that if I didn't have some sort of, honestly, like, I'm almost shocked that I'm able to be here as I am, but to know, to realize, like, what does this ideal relationship look like, what does it feel like, what am I supposed to do to create it. That's why I teach what I'm doing this class. I'm also offering, um I've also created a group coaching course based around this too. So even I had this going on for the past couple of weeks, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it differently. I ran it for the first time, and I learned a lot from what I want to do differently moving forward, and that's what I'm also bringing into here. But one thing I want you to really do for yourself is to be committed. I mean, you guys showed up for a reason. I want you to be committed, and you're listening and watching this for a reason. And I want you to be committed to getting that for yourself, whatever that looks like to you. That you don't back down because it gets too hard. That it doesn't, that because it becomes too scary or frightening, that you can't be courageous anymore, or that you're exhausted and you're tired, like, this just sucks. Allow yourself to move through it. I'm not saying ignore it, because that never works. I want you to move through those emotions. There are going to be really hard days, even in my marriage, right? Like, when Isaac and I first got married, we had some really tough days. But one thing I reminded myself is, okay, if I can't make it work with this man who is very much aligned with me, our values, our vision for the future, our lifestyle, to all of that, I can't make it work with anyone. So I want you to remind yourself of that statement when things do get hard, or like, just to be like, it's always going to be hard. It's always going to be challenging. That's where the growth is. And I don't mean like, when you're in a relationship, it's always like every single day is hard. No, I just mean there will be obstacles. Do you have the strength and commitment to be able to overcome this? And does he, I don't want you to think I'm putting everything on you. Uh, I want you to know that your energy has to be matched by this person. If this person isn't committed either, then there's no point in being together, because he's not going to put in as much work and effort as you are. And it can never be one-sided. It has to be 100% from both parties. That the marriage and the relationship is 100% priority of both parties. If you follow everything I've shared today, you will get closer to this idea of implementing, or this, attracting your partner and dream partner. Um, and, but the thing is, like, I want you to think about something. So a lot of my clients that come to me have tried to do things on their own. They're reading the books, they're listening to the podcast. I literally just had someone tell me that. I was reading the books, I was listening to the podcast, And I was doing the same at one point too. But it didn't click for me until I started to work with you. And why is that? Because when you're consuming this knowledge, this information, you don't really know how to, sometimes, a lot of the times, you don't know how to integrate it, take it, integrate it, and make set for it to make sense in your life to yourself. Because it's harder to see yourself and your actions from the outside. When you're on the, I'm sorry, when you're on the inside, like when you're in it, it's really difficult to see your own actions, to see your own behavior, to see your own thought processes. So when you're on the outside looking in, like even as a coach, it's easier for me to be like, okay, like this is what's happening. But then I also help you to learn how to do that for yourself as well. So, because I don't want you to be with me forever. I want you to go out into the world and be able to coach yourself through things too. So, but I do want you to take this information and take it seriously. And, you know, if you're, I brought up this example when I talk about the working with a coach or implementation of, you know, Isaac was a survival specialist in the military. So if I decided, okay, I'm going to be a survival specialist, and I get sent a bunch of books and I get sent a bunch of podcasts or whatever about how to be a survival specialist, I read it, I listen to it, and then they dump me out in the wilderness a week later. Am I going to survive? You know, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I like guarantee we'll be dead in a couple of days. But if I had, let's say, a survival specialist trainer who trains people to survive out in the wilderness and in these like crazy different scenarios and situations, and I was with him, like we were training together, he was giving me feedback, he was able to see things, he's like, okay, like you can improve here, you can improve this, here are some activities and things that you need to be doing for yourself to get to actually be able to succeed. If you drop me off into the wilderness a week later, I could probably figure it out, compared to the first time when I was just listening to podcasts and reading books. So that's how it works in coaching, when you have someone who's supporting you through this journey, who's helping to guide you and navigate this process with you, because it can be hard, it can be heavy, it can be really tough to see through the other side, like to see the bigger picture. It's almost as if like I have a bird's eye view of like your situation and you and your life, and I'm able to help you to see that too for yourself. So I want you to think about, because this is actually what breaks my heart more than anything else, is when I have people, when I have my lovely, lovely clients who are just like, to me, they are amazing human beings. When they come to me like looking for help and seeking love, right? The most beautiful thing I think we're all here for. That's what we're here for, is to be able to be loved and give love. And they come to me and say, hey, I've been single for this long. They've been divorced, like what? They were divorced a couple years ago. And they've closed themselves off for years. And then like it breaks my, like I can get emotional now thinking about it, because it breaks my heart to know that they didn't allow themselves to receive the thing that they want the most in this world, that they blocked themselves from it. So when you don't change, you don't allow yourself to have the thing that you actually desire. So what is that? How is that affecting your life right now, right? Like if you think about that, if you think about what your life looks like right now, if you choose not to change and just hopefully magically love will walk into your life 5, 10 years from now, How is that going to affect you? What if that doesn't happen? Even if someone walks into your life 5 or 10 years from now, do you think you'll know how to navigate that? Maybe. But what is that going to cost you to wait that long to actually implement and make changes in yourself and in your life? But, when you do choose to change, if you do choose to take action according to what I have taught here, and I can't, and that's the thing, and this is what, like, has it been an hour? I'm not even sure, probably. I can't fit everything into this short training. It's literally impossible. If one of my clients are here, like, we've been together for a couple of months. It is literally impossible to squeeze all of that into one training. I tried to share as much as I could. I try to give away as much as I can for free, like all the information. But there's also only so much that you can do on your own with all of this free information. But with you being able to take action and take steps towards changing, then you will be able to get closer to that vision, to get closer to that goal, to find your soul husband, to have that dream family that you're wanting, to have that solid foundation so you can go out into the world and be creative and have fun and explore. And then you come back and you're always like, yeah, I have my solid rock here. I love to, like, literally, it's almost like whenever I'm talking about this, we do have this, like, so here's the marriage. It's a solid, huge rock. Isaac and I are sitting on it. And there's like this bungee cord. There's this bungee cord attached to both of us. And we go out in the world and we go explore, go create, go do the things that we love. And then we always come back, like, we're always pulled back home in the best way possible because we want to go back home. And we share all of our learnings and we create this magic together. We inspire each other, we support each other. And then we go back out and do it again. And like it's worth it. It's worth it. I'm here to tell you that it's worth it and it's possible. And then you get to live a life that's more aligned with who you truly are, that you're no longer getting in your own way. You're no longer letting other people dictate who you are. That you're solid. You know who you are. You know how to create the boundaries. You know how to be assertive and loving at the same time. You know how to be feminine. You know how to nurture your man. And then you also know how to teach him to do that for you, because you've required that too. And when I talk about becoming more feminine, I'm talking about that because a lot of high achieving women who are successful in their careers, who have to be more masculine in their careers, it's great because it helps you to succeed there, struggle to be feminine in relationships and don't know how to do that when it comes to open themselves up and to nurture a man. But so as I just mentioned, women need to be able to balance masculine and feminine, and men need to be able to do that too. And you help them to do that, to learn how to do that. So this is where I wanted to share this program. I hope you guys are okay with me talking about this now. Like I said, this is something I created based off something I just finished up. I did my first round of it to see how what I want to add, what I need to change. For this Attract Your Soul Husband 3-month program, for the program prior to this, we just had courses. We just had like group coaching classes. So we would meet for 90 minutes and discuss different topics, and I'd teach on different topics, kind of similar to here, but we'd also have within the groups, everyone interacting with each other, everyone interacting as a group. And one of the aspects, though, that I wanted to add into this, so I can also have a more direct contact with the women in the group, is to be able to also have some one-on-one time, right? So when I'm talking about this Attract Your Soul Husband 3-month program, we're basically taking all the information that you just learned about now and diving in deeper and learning how to integrate and implement this as well. So, this is why I wanted to, and it's a 3-month program because this can be a lot of, this can be a lot. So it can feel heavy. So basically what's included in it is, so like I said, this is for you if you need help implementing everything that you're learning. And honestly, if you can take all this information that I've given to you and you can take it and run with it, go for it. You can even pop off now if you feel like it's not something for you, like 100% go for it. But if it's something that you feel like, okay, I don't really understand how this would work, or like how to implement this in my life or integrate this into my life, or how it makes sense for my situation, then this program is going to be for you. And if you want some guidance around that to be able to navigate that. And so basically how this works is we have 2 monthly 90-minute coaching calls, which these are really fun, especially if you're, I just finished up this course last night with the other ladies, and the biggest impact or that they said that they had was, it was really, really helpful to know that they're not alone, to know that they're not alone in quote unquote they're crazy, or what they thought they were just struggling with, that they had other people in it with them. And also learning how to navigate through that, like we're talking about becoming really aware about your own patterns, taking ownership, becoming more feminine, moving through that. And then, like I said, one of the things I really wanted to add into this is private coaching, because I'm like, I just like, I'm very connected to the people that I work with. I never, like, even with this, it's so awkward for me because I'm like, I want to be able to talk to you. I want to be able to know like what your story is. I want to connect with you. So one of the things I'm changing about that program that I just did is to include a private coaching call, because I'm like, I want to be able to know how you are doing, what is going on for you, how can I connect with you, how can we integrate this and make this even stronger in your life, because I want you to transform. This is a transformative coaching program. It's not for you just to like take in a lot of information and walk away the same person. Absolutely not. I want you to walk away transformed. And then on top of that private coaching call, you will get one-to-one support outside of that through this app called Voxer. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I actually use it with my one-on-one clients as well. So basically they get additional support outside of the private coaching call. For this program, you get one additional day per week to be able to ask questions, to share your thoughts, like, hey, I'm having this come up for me when it comes down to relationships, can you help me with this? And like, so I help to coach you through some of those things outside of our group calls and outside of our private coaching call as well. So basically, these are the 12 weeks of Attract Your Soul Husband formula. Like, we're really diving in deep into each part of this. And this is the cost value of it, the $2,500. And then the Voxer access, the 12 weeks of it, you literally get 12 weeks of Voxer access where you get connected to me and you're able to get feedback. And then the 3 60-minute coaching calls. And then one of the things that is really important for me and important for the work that I do with my clients is, what makes me a little different from a lot of other coaches is, I don't want you just to come in here and soak in the information and have the calls with me and not have any accountability or ways to practice. So you're going to go out there and practice these skills, and also have these exercises that you need to work on your own outside of the course time, outside of our coaching calls. So you're learning how to implement, you're learning how to integrate, and you have the accountability because of the group and because of your investment in this, right? And on top of that, you're gonna also have access to a Facebook group where you can ask questions. You can ask anonymously if you want to. You're gonna be able to just be open to share your wins. So would it be worth 500,000? So basically what I was talking about here is, my divorce literally cost me $500,000, probably even more so. That's just like a rough estimate, right? I lost the house and all of this stuff. So when I talked about, um, you know, to why would you go through something like a divorce and not, at least that's my mentality. If that's the I guess perfectionist mentality of myself is, if I screw something up, how do I go about it the second time and not do it the same way? So if you think of it that way, like what is all of this costing you? What has your divorce cost you? What has you not changing cost you? I should literally be charging people $500,000 for this program. But that is not something I would ever want to do. But yeah, so you can take, you can take the information that you're learning and implement whatever it is that you like. That's why I want to be able to create more free, whatever it is, like through my content, it's free information. And through this, like it's free information. I want you to take it. But it is hard without that accountability. If you're wanting to move faster, if you're wanting to change quickly, if like you're really wanting to make change in your life and to get what you desire, it is really hard to do on your own and just with the information. But if you're interested in this, I want you to go onto Instagram. You could actually like click, can you click the link? Yeah, you should be able to click the link. It's like, does that work? But yes, you should be able to click the link and then be able to just DM me the word love, and I will send you more information on this. So the program is not, I told you it's worth around a little over $6,000. It's actually, that's not what it's going to be, like half the cost of that. And the nice thing is, like, I really want to be able to help people on this journey. And I know how much money can be a factor. But yeah, because of this, I'm also offering payment plans as well. So if that is something that I want you to know, like, do not be afraid to message me and to share with me what your needs are. It is very important that I try my best to be able to serve as many people as I can. And of course, some I can't. This work is really hard and heavy. Also, as a coach, like my husband, like we were just talking the other day, and like it is a lot. It is heavy, and so I can also only take on a limited amount of people when it comes down to whether it's these coaching programs or whether it is one-to-one, especially because this program includes one-to-one. I am only able to take on limited, but I am just so thankful and so grateful that you guys have stuck it out and showed up. So for anyone who showed up today, I am offering $200 off either this program, or if you decide to come to, I'm hosting a retreat in Italy this year, and it's going to be so amazing. If you decide to come to that, that's like something you want to use your credit towards, you can use the $200 off credit towards that as well. It looks like no one has any questions, so I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful that you took time out of your day to be with me. Like, so grateful. And I hope you take this information and run with it, use it, change your life, make the changes necessary to get the love that you deserve. Sending you all so much love.